Module 1 Historical and Cultural Value Criteria for Recipe Preservation. Content for Digital Materials. Identification of a ritual recipe. Objectives of this presentation is to explain how to select a ritual recipe for digitization. First, it is crucial to understand what a ritual recipe as a heritage is and why it should be preserved. Further, a set of criteria is introduced to be applied in order to determine whether a recipe is a ritual, as well as the entire process to be followed in order to create a digital representation of a recipe. Due to globalization and accessibility between different nationalities, there is a risk of ritual cuisines of different countries creating a fusion cuisine. Therefore, it is of great value to preserve the ritual cuisine, along with its ethno-cultural traits, as well as the folklore and traditions connected with it. It is an important challenge for local communities to recognize their food and culinary as heritage in order to preserve their identity and to ensure that this knowledge passes from generation to generation. Once a recipe has been deemed as a ritual recipe according to a set of acceptable criteria, then digital representations are one way to preserve the ritual recipe. The criteria to identify and select a ritual recipe. To be practices, representations, and expressions of local identity. To be recognized by communities, groups, or individuals as part of their cultural heritage. To be transmitted from generation to generation. To be a result of the interaction with nature and local and regional history and memory. To represent cultural diversity and human creativity. To be in danger of the recipe or its ingredients disappearing. To be a resource of traditional and artisanal techniques. To be a part of rituals or festive actions or activities. To be part of social and community practices. To be a public or private performance of important events. To be a result of local and regional knowledge and uses. There is clearly a relationship between heritage and local cuisine, and knowing the community means knowing what it is eating. The ingredients used, the way they are prepared, and the way they are consumed can reflect part of the identity of a particular region and its cultural characteristics. All issues such as knowing how food is prepared, processed, who cooks it, what tools and instruments are used when it is prepared, show cultural differences and particularities. This also includes rituals and stories associated with it. Rituals celebrate and establish special moments in the memory of those involved and of the community in general. In their diversity, the food traditions reflect numerous rituals to be preserved, not only with regard to the preparation of food, but also its consumption. As indicated in the study of Santilli, food cultural and heritage values lie not in the typical dish or in its recipe, but in the eating practices, rituals, and meanings assigned to it. Rituals associated with food reflects the history of a community, namely its influences, beliefs, and superstitions. In Portugal, around Easter, the offering of folar is a ritual that lasts. A simple cake with a slight hint of cinnamon and with one or more eggs on top. It is offered by godparents to godchildren as a symbol of friendship and reconciliation. After selecting a recipe, the following are recommended to create a digital representation of a recipe in the form of a video presentation. Short introduction on the importance of a ritual recipe selected as an integrating element of identity. It is essential to introduce the selected recipe in a professional, communicative, and friendly way. Since a recipe is an integral part of the community, whether it is linked to religion or local tradition, it is necessary to specify how the recipe is connected to the community and why. Relationship between religion and local festivities and gastronomy. Food is closely related to religious beliefs and practices. Through food, groups communicate and share an interpretive identity of their existence. Ritual cuisine is an integral part of local customs. It is always linked to a local festivity and as a way of preserving local tradition. Specify how and why the recipe was born and the importance of it for the community. Explain, if any, the local beliefs and their relationship to food. For example, in the case of Easter Fuller, legend has it that this traditional Easter cake came around through a saint, Santa Caterina. Santa Caterina had offered this cake to a young woman named Mariana and her two suitors, so that there would not be a war between the two young men. Therefore, the fuller came to represent reconciliation and friendship. Explain step by step the preparation of the ritual dish, from how it is prepared to reaching the end result, including cooking time. The ingredients are fundamental for a recipe, and they should have prominence because they will surely be linked to the territory and to the typical products of the territory. It is important to introduce the ingredients in order and to mention the respective quantities of each one. Finally, detailed presentation of the traditional preparation, and subtitles can be included. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that you enjoyed this presentation.